The following is a presentation of Muddy River Sports.
Welcome to The List. I'm Muddy River Sports editor Matt Schuckman, and it's time to break down our 10 favorite things. That's right. Each time we come to you with another episode of the podcast, The List, we go with our 10 favorite things. Not the best, maybe, so again, keep that in mind, especially.
Very subjective.
Very subjective, and this week especially, and that voice was Muddy River News editor David Adam, who is joining me this week so we can discuss our 10 favorite local left-handed athletes. And this was his topic of choice.
Yeah, I mean, Matt talked to me a few weeks ago and said, hey, let's do this, but you pick the topic. And I was like, okay, I want to do something. I don't want to do something. Steve did my favorite snack foods. For God's sakes, you could have my favorite 100 snack foods, and Steve would be fine. Or Irvin doing his favorite rock bands. So I was like, I want to do something that will make Schuck think a little bit. And it took a couple of weeks, and then I went, how about favorite left-handed athletes? And just in talking to Matt, I may have thrown a bender that forced him to buckle his knees a little bit.
This was difficult. I'll be honest. There were a few that came to mind immediately. And because you think, but when you sit down and think about it, when you think of left-handed athletes, you normally think of baseball players or softball players, So it's like, okay. So you're going through that, doing all that, and it's like, okay. Then you start thinking, well, what about football players? Mm-hmm. And then you get into other sports where you don't know if they're left-handed or not. Mm-hmm. And so it was a challenge to put together a list that.
And I only thought of one football player who did not make my list. I couldn't think of any left-handed football players.
I thought of one.
Now I think we should also say you might be a wide receiver and you're left-handed,
and we don't know.
It has absolutely nothing to do with.
Well,
the
like
sport.
how many soccer players that we know are left-handed?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
When we say favorite left-handed athletes, you're using your left hand in the sport.
But with that in mind, I also tried my best on this list to go with people who were left-handed, not a right-handed person who hits left-handed in baseball.
Or the other thing I thought of, and this was a great one. This was somebody said to me, "Would you put Hank Gathers on your list?" And now he's not local, obviously. Right. And I'm like,
well, he might end up on a. Well, there may be another list of left-handers coming.
But Hank Gathers, I thought what was interesting was the only reason he would even be considered is because he stunk at free throws so bad that he tried to shoot them left-handed one year.
Right.
I couldn't put somebody on there.
No.
Sorry, he's not a left-handed person.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into this.
All right.
Favorite. Now, again, these are our favorites. So
and these are local.
Local. So this is completely subjective. We aren't saying these are the 10 best left-handed athletes that we've seen, played with, however you want to go about it.
All right. Before we do that, I want to throw out a couple of honorable mention hosannas.
Oh, okay.
Two of my favorite baseball players, Mike Crow, who I played baseball with. Crowy could make a curveball dance.
Yeah.
And Greg Gilbert.
Okay.
Another left-handed pitcher, just after my heart. I love, good friends with them for a long time.
Well, you were a left-handed pitcher yourself.
And I didn't throw very hard. So anybody who's a soft-tossing left-hander, double chest.
But how many portly southpaws are there out there?
Barry Forster. That's about. I can't think. How many other portly southpaws were there? Because there was. Oh, Fernando. Oh, yeah, Bob's sitting in the room and he's going for Fernando would be there too.
All right, so let's get started.
Okay, number one.
No, number 10. Number 10. You started off.
Yeah, right. Number 10, Tim Eilers.
Okay.
All right, and you might go, who the heck is Tim Eilers? And there are people from the Augusta Southeastern area who are probably grinning broadly. There's one in particular I know of, and that would be Brad Eaton. When I played American Legion baseball, I got left-handers out. I had a pretty good little curveball, and I got left-handers out. I couldn't get Tim Eilers out if I tried 6 days a week and twice on Sundays. He killed me. And so I remember we were playing American Legion baseball at QU Stadium one summer. He comes up hitting the number 1 or 2 hole, and he hits one to right field, just a blast. And my coach, Mike Hillenthal, comes up to me, and he's like, "You're not tough enough. You're not knocking him off the plate. You got to back him down so your curveball will work."
And Coach Hillenthal was correct. You weren't tough enough.
I was not tough enough. But for that particular time, I'm like, he's right. I'm going to show him I'm a man. I'm going to knock Tim Eiler in the dirt. And I wind up, next time he comes up, I'm going to hit him in the head. I'm going to throw this next pitch, and I'm going to crush him. And he hit it 50 feet farther than the first one that he hit. I couldn't get that guy out for anything. Lives in the St. Louis area now. Really good dude. Tim Eilers, number 10 on my list.
All right, number 10 on my list was a two-sport athlete at Quincy High School.
Okay.
Who just happened to be my roommate my freshman year at Mizzou.
Okay.
Alan Medemeyer. Alan played football and baseball at Quincy High School.
Okay.
Had a shoulder injury. He was
related to Randy?
Yeah, cousin.
Okay, all right.
So was a quarterback on the football team, first baseman, but he had a shoulder injury, so he was limited on some of the things he could do his senior year. But again, a two-sport athlete. Grew up played with him in Y Tackle Football League. We were on the Bears.
And again, this is our favorite. So people are going, "Who the heck's Alan Medemeyer?" Doesn't make any difference. It's Matt's favorite. It's his list.
Number 10 on my list, Alan Medemeyer.
All right.
Number 9.
Mine was Dominic Miles.
Okay.
Dominic Miles.
See here. Okay, we'll get to. Okay, go
fine.
ahead.
Dominic was, first of all, hell of a baseball. Just played the game the right way. Great player at Notre Dame. Went on to have a great career at QU. Just a hard-nosed guy. And I love talking to his dad down the left field line at ball games. But I love Dominic Miles as a baseball player.
But he's not left-handed. He hit left-handed.
See, to me, and I went, if you hit left-handed, that means you're doing something left-handed.
Okay.
So I was okay with that.
But, so I did not go down that list.
And that's okay.
Because Dom would have been really high on my list if I did that.
Right.
So, because that's why you don't see a Lance Logsdon on my list.
See, and I thought for sure you'd put Lance on your list.
He hit left-handed. He's one of the best hitters in QU baseball history, but he's a right-handed person. He threw right-handed. He pitched right-handed.
But to me, I would say he qualifies.
But like I said in the beginning, I tried to make this 10 people who are left-handed because if you said left-handed athletes, that's
right.
Because there's a difference between right-handed and left-handed.
But it says on his baseball card, bats left.
Yeah, well.
So that's what I was going with.
All right. Well,
number 9.
My number 9, Quincy Notre Dame's Caitlin Bunty.
Okay.
Softball player extraordinaire, one of the best softball players in our area right now. Pitcher, left-handed hitter, hits leadoff for the Raiders. Had played on the team that won the Senior League World Series, the Tri-County Beardstown team last year. Just a phenomenal softball player under the tutelage of Lori Vogel. So Caitlin's going to be tough because Lori's going to be.
Lori won't allow her to not be tough.
But Caitlin's a great person, just a great kid, and a damn good softball player.
All right, my number 8, another female Quincy Notre Dame athlete, Lee McLaughlin.
Okay. Now, see, and it's funny you brought that up because she was one I was considering, and I just don't remember her shooting left-handed or anything.
She's left-handed.
It was in my head. I couldn't come up with it.
And the reason I know that is because I had children at that time who were. It's almost like a compliment.
Oh, I tried to find pictures of her shooting just to confirm it in my head.
The fact is, if I'm wrong, I already know that my daughter. Jennifer will probably call and say, "Dad, Lee was not left-handed," but I'm almost positive she was.
Well, see, I thought she was too as I was getting this up, but I couldn't confirm it.
But she was just so skilled, right hand, left hand. She was a tremendous athlete. I mean,
great soccer player,
really good, underrated basketball player. So Lee McLaughlin, number 8.
Number 8 on my list, Marcus Metzger.
Marcus, I probably would have put on my list, except and Matt and I, we really tried to make it clear. We don't want each of us to know. These are the first times we're hearing each other's list.
Correct.
The only name that we had brought up was Marcus Metzger. Marcus might have made the been in my 7, 8, 9, 10 area. Marcus Metzger could ball.
Great shooter. Quincy High School, 1,000-point scorer in high school. Went on to play at John Wood, then went on to play at Quincy University, where he became one heck of a defender.
And who would have thought that?
Because
he was in high school?
He didn't play a lick of defense in high school.
Marcus, I didn't say that. Matt said that, but I did not.
He'll agree with me because he was a scorer. He was a shooter.
Yeah,
he was shoot first mentality in high school, but he developed into quite a really, really good basketball player at Quincy, all around basketball player at Quincy University. Right. But so yeah, number 8 on my list, Marcus Metzger.
All right, number 7, Jamie Blazing.
Thought about putting him on my list. I didn't go, but I thought about it.
And Jamie's on my list because he was. I coached him when he was in the 5th grade at the YMCA. He was an altar boy at my wedding. Known as him and his family for years. I want to find out because he's a very accomplished golfer.
Yes, he's very good.
But does he play left-handed?
I believe so.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I'm pretty sure he does.
But Jamie was a really good high school baseball pitcher.
Yep.
He was a very good college pitcher, especially that was right about the time where the QU baseball program was sort of turning the ship and becoming a region and conference power.
Correct.
And a lot of that was built on the backs of some local left-handed pitchers like him. Jamie Blazing was and remains to this day a very solid left-handed athlete.
Well, speaking of Quincy University local left-handed pitchers who have continued to have an impact on keeping that program at a high level, number 7 on my list is Griffin Kern.
There you go.
The currently the reigning GLVC pitcher of the year who went into the transfer portal and is going to head to the University of West Virginia. Currently pitching in the Cape Cod League.
How exciting that is for him to go to West Virginia. Oh, it's like, okay,
they're coming off a College World Series appearance.
Yeah.
And,
can I do this?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for him. Last I checked, he was leading the Cape Cod League in innings pitched.
No kidding.
And very successful. I think he had a 1-1 record, but having a great summer out there for the Harwich Mariners. But a kid who
is that a bucket list item for you to maybe go out to Cape? I think going to Cape Cod for like a week and just bouncing around would be cool.
If I could figure out a way to go out there and spend a week, spend 2 weeks, spend 3 weeks, and write about the experience and do something. Yes, Cape Cod League. Yes, you're absolutely right, and I know Griffin's dad Chris and I have discussed that of how can we make this happen with the time frame and everything. But yeah, Griffin, again, a 2-sport athlete in high school. He was a great goalkeeper for the Notre Dame soccer team. So number 7, Griffin Kern. Number 6,
Allie Schwagmeyer.
Okay.
Allie was just a beast, and just I mean, and what's amazing is a lot of times, so many athletes are good high school athletes, but they don't get better. It's almost like they kind of run into the wall and they're only this good, and then they're just done.
Yeah.
Allie Schwagmeyer, she was a very good high school basketball player, but she got so much better. I mean, she went to it was a division Charleston Southern,
correct,
and was there for a year or two. Came back to Quincy, and was just phenomenal. And then she becomes a pro. And then she's a pro for many years.
Right.
Now, there will be an entire generation of people go, yeah, I don't know anything about her athletic background. She's the coach of John Wood.
Right.
Okay, that's fine too. But the fact was, when she played basketball, Allie Schwagmeyer was good. Really good.
Yeah, recently hired as the John Wood Community College women's basketball coach. I think that program's going to thrive under her.
I hope so. I think
she's done great things. Her and her husband, Courtney Belger, another former QU basketball player, have done great things with their 25-8 mentality, all AAU team. And it just so happens on my list, number 6 is Allie Schwagmeyer.
Good.
So I didn't know if we'd end up with any that overlapped.
I thought we might.
I thought there was a chance.
I've got a couple others. Oh, I know. There's one,
at least one. I know
one that I would be shocked is not on your list.
So, but yeah, number 6 on my list as well is Allie Schwagmeyer.
All right.
So let's move on to number 5.
Number 5, Lyle Martin.
Okay.
Lyle Martin was an excellent high school baseball player. Went to Bradley. Was a darn good college baseball player, one of the sweetest left-handed swings, good middle infielder, just one of my favorite people. Is a good dude. Lyle would have played what? Early 90s?
No, late
80s?
Okay. I think he graduated in 88.
Lyle, if you happen to ever listen to this, I was trying to give you a couple extra years.
But yeah, went on and played at Bradley.
Yeah.
Again, didn't make my list, I think, because he's right-handed, but he hit left-handed.
Yeah, sure.
So, again, that comes down to that. Number 5 on my list is a guy who I still remember the Saturday of sitting out at the old Q&D baseball field where home plate was on 9th Street. And he launched 3 home runs in a doubleheader to right field.
Okay.
And a guy that I've known pretty much our entire lives. When he went to St. Peter's, I went to St. Mary's, and that would be Todd Watercutty.
Todd Water, I remember that.
First team all area outfielder for the Quincy Notre Dame baseball team his senior year. Dude could just stroke it.
Yeah.
Left-handed, had a good arm, was a really good baseball player. But I have memories of watching him hit home runs there where it was just a field behind the fence.
Oh yeah.
And
you and I are both old to remember that the ball field at Notre Dame was flipped around.
Oh yeah.
And and that alleyway was basically where everybody parked their cars to be able to sit behind the third base dugout.
Yeah, and then they blocked off the alley, so you had to walk down the alley.
Yeah.
But there were still all the houses, and you had to worry about foul balls going to hit in the houses.
Oh yeah. All right, number 4. We'll stay in the same genre.
Okay.
Quincy Notre Dame baseball, Todd Keck. You could make a lot of arguments at Notre Dame as to who the best baseball player ever was at that school. They've had a lot of good ones.
No question.
Best pitcher, you throw a guy like Tim Meckes in there. They had a guy who pitched for them back in the 50s who led them to the state championship, but dang, Todd Keck was good. He was so good. Went to Illinois State.
Correct.
Was a hell of a pitcher for Illinois State as well. And just I remember him as being pretty quiet, very humble guy. I think that's still the case.
It is very much still the case.
Doesn't talk about. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know how good of an athlete he was.
3 daughters who have all excelled in athletics at Quincy Notre Dame, and at the college level.
Yep.
And
man,
again,
he was so. When he was in high school, he was so good.
Had a great pickoff move.
Oh yeah.
You didn't want to face him, and if you got a hit off him, you were excited.
Yeah.
So, number 4 on my list, Todd Keck.
There you go.
So, thinking along the same lines there.
Absolutely. He was just too good to not.
No question about it.
No reason for him not to be on there.
No question about it. All right.
Number 3 for me, Teresa Jackson.
Okay.
Star basketball player at Monroe City in the mid-'80s. Her and her sister Dina. Monroe City had some really good teams coached by Bob Plord, and she was so different because she was left-handed, and she could handle the ball. I mean, she was a 6 foot tall woman who you just didn't see 6-footers step out and shoot jump shots and handle the ball like she did.
Not in that day.
Not 1985.
No.
Went on to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Right.
Had a good career there. I have no idea what happened to Teresa Jackson.
I don't
either. Some of these people I've known. Many of them are Quincy people. But
Right.
Teresa Jackson was as good of a girls' high school basketball player at the last quarter of the 20th century that you can imagine.
You could make an argument if you put a Mount Rushmore of girls basketball players from our area.
From the inception of girls basketball, you could make the argument she belongs on that list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she was that good.
She was that good. So, number 3 on my list, we're going back to Quincy High School basketball.
All right.
Jack Kramer.
Automatic.
The guy, and clutch. Maybe the most money guy in Quincy High School history. I know that's saying a lot because there's been a lot of great players. But if you had to take a last-second shot against anybody, who would have the cojones to say
He wouldn't necessarily always make it.
No.
But he had no problem shooting it.
No question. And he made a bunch of them.
Yes.
And he made a bunch of them in really key spots.
Yeah.
Made one against Pekin in the postseason. Made one against Collinsville in the KMOX shootout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you put the game on the line. Who am I giving the ball to? Jack Kramer.
Yeah, just clear out, give Jack the ball. He'll make good decisions.
And he was a good football player before he gave up playing football. Just a really good athlete. Kids have gone on. He had a son who went and played Division I baseball. Another son that plays Division I basketball. I mean, and Jack stays true to his Quincy roots. Stays connected to Quincy.
He came back up here when his son played for was it SLU High?
SLU High in the shootout.
Yeah.
So
it was good to catch up with him then.
Jack Kramer, number 3 on my list.
Number 2, Amy Egan.
Okay.
Amy Egan would have been the 1980s version of Lee McLaughlin, which was like she was so good, but she didn't score. She was.
Well, wouldn't she have been early 90s?
Early 90s, whatever.
Yeah.
But my point was that now at South Shelby, she scored a lot.
Yeah.
But when you saw her play she was such a good passer, such a good ball handler. She was way ahead of her time. Again, now she's gone on to become the head basketball coach at Lindenwood. She was at Drury. She's, had a tremendous career in that. But I can't not help think of, when I think of girls basketball players, and when I was in covering sports regularly, Amy Egan could ball.
She's a Hall of Famer at Truman State University. Right. Again, one of those great Northeast Missouri athletes from over the years. Okay, number 2 on my list. We're going to Pike County.
Okay.
Brad Hamilton.
Oh, man, I missed that one.
The stud of the 2011 Pittsfield boys basketball team.
But now, see, that would have been, I didn't really get to, I watched the team from afar, but absolutely belongs on this list.
Then went on to play at John Wood, then played at Missouri Valley. He's done some coaching, and he's a big disc golfer now. I do know that. And
does he throw him left-handed?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
But just a great guy who, my goodness, made some of the most incredible plays I've ever witnessed in clutch situations.
He was the Pike County version of Jack Kramer.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. Just get him the ball. He'll make a good decision.
He makes the right decision. That was the thing. And that's why Pittsfield was so successful in that era. Not only was he talented and could score, he's the all-time leading scorer in Pittsfield history, which says a lot.
Right.
He's also, here's the other kicker in that. He owns the single-season batting average record for the Pittsfield baseball team.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was one heck of a baseball player, too.
All right, well, my number 1 guy was Jack Kramer.
Okay, I wondered.
And Jack, I think, as time's gone by, I think he's become very underappreciated from this standpoint. Number 1, he was a really good 3-sport athlete. He just didn't play them as he got older because he concentrated on basketball.
Correct.
I mean, here's a guy who signed with Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan. We're talking D1, Big Ten, and he's signed with them.
Yeah.
Was a really good high school football quarterback.
Correct.
I mean, was a good baseball player. What would be fascinating now would be to ask him, if you could do it all over again, would you have continued to just concentrate solely on basketball? Because I'll be honest, I think his best sports could have eventually been either football or baseball because he had a great build. He was 6'3", 6'4", left hand. Could you see him playing for Rick Little these days?
Oh yeah,
with having the athletes that are lined up out there and him slinging the ball around, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, by the way, the pockets collapsed, and now you got that big truck running down the field.
Well, and the funny part is, after he quit playing football, the guy that followed him as Quincy High School's quarterback was pretty darn good in his own right.
Absolutely.
And that would have been Eric Bush.
Right. On an ironic thing, when I was looking up names, one of the people I did not include on my list was Alan Bush, who was a Quincy High Hall of Famer, played at Mizzou, but he was left-handed.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't put him on my favorites list because I never saw him play.
I never saw him either, and that's.
But I figured I'd give a shout out to Alan Bush.
I like it.
The other person before you give me your number one
Yeah.
was, well, wait a second. Give me. I don't think this person's your number one, but
I think you know who my number one is.
I thought it would have been Jack.
Okay, no. My number one's Riley Martin.
Oh, I'm okay.
You know, the best pitcher in Quincy University history.
There you go.
Yes, I know Josh Kinney went on and had a pro career. Riley's trending that direction, currently pitching for the Iowa Cubs.
But my gosh, that one year was he not just dominant?
I don't, Brandon DeJanes was as dominant as any Division II pitcher's probably ever been and was the Division II National Pitcher of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Riley Martin should have gotten more consideration for it his senior year. But
Didn't he average like 15 strikeouts a game?
He was filthy. He was filthy.
Yeah.
And literally got to know him from the day he walked on campus to the day he left, and built a relationship with him that I treasure. One of my favorite people, bar none. Like even if he wasn't a baseball person, his fiance Mo Rooney played soccer at Quincy University. She'd be high on my all-time favorite people list. And again, I've loved following his pro career, hoping he gets to, again, I've made a deal with him that if he ever does make it to the big leagues, I will buy a Chicago Cubs hat for the first time in my life.
But when will you wear it? Now, buying it is one thing.
Oh, I will wear it and take a picture of it like when he gets it, but then I will wear it with him.
Okay.
Sometime.
I thought maybe you were going to say, I will go to a Cubs game and wear a Cubs hat.
No, probably not,
he's
because
there.
if I go, well, that would be if I go to a Cubs game as a fan.
Okay.
If I go up there to write about him or something, I wouldn't wear a Cubs hat because I'd be working.
Right.
But no, he and I will convene at some point, whether it's to do another episode of Shuck on a Truck or something, and I will.
Do you think they let you roll your truck like out into the left field there?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
At Wrigley Field and do Shuck on a Truck?
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Hey, I'm in Wrigley.
Get a hold of Andy Martinez. He probably knows people who can get that taken care of for you.
So, okay.
The other person I just wanted to throw, for historical buffs, Fritz Ostermuller.
Yeah.
Left-handed pitcher from Quincy back in the 40s.
Well, I think we could go through and find some other lefties but again, this is our 10 favorites.
Absolutely. I didn't want to not acknowledge Fritz because he was a very accomplished major league pitcher. He was the guy who was supposedly the bad guy in the Jackie Robinson movie 42,
right?
Which the family is like, no, none of that stuff actually happened. But the fact is, that's how he was portrayed, fairly or unfairly.
I might have to make a list of my 10 favorite left-handed hitting baseball players who weren't actually left-handed.
Oh, okay.
Because like we talked, I didn't
Ricky hit no, not Ricky.
Well, but I'm thinking local. Like I'm thinking, because there's a bunch that hit left-handed that weren't left-handed.
Yeah.
Like their dads taught them to hit left-handed and stuff. So again, I left them off my list because they're not left-handed people.
Right.
So I tried to stick to that theme.
That's fine.
But that was fun.
Yeah. No, I think we both brought up some names of people that you just go, man, I haven't thought about that person in a long time. And to be honest, now, we've missed people.
Oh,
it's like I missed Brad Hamilton. Completely swung and missed on Brad Hamilton.
I guarantee I'll get phone calls and messages, and I love that. That's what I want. I want people to chime in.
Tell us who we've missed.
Again, these are our favorite. These are the ones that came to mind. When you threw the topic out, these were the 10 that came to mind.
Right.
So
now, they had to be pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I picked some guy who was the third-string quarterback, but I liked him because he was a good friend of mine.
Right.
No. They had to be good athletes, but they were just my favorite athletes. The ones I enjoyed covering, or like Tim Eilers, I had a good story about.
Right. So that was fun.
Brad Eaton, I swear, is sitting there he's grinning from ear to ear going, I remember that day. Well, he tattooed those balls off you.
Hopefully some people chime in on this.
Yes,
then.
I hope so.
If you want to chime in, reach out to us on social media. You can email us at sports@muddyrivernews.com. Find us at a game or an event, or plop down on the tailgate of the truck sometime when you see me out and about. So for David Adam, I'm Matt Schuckman. This has been another episode of The List.
Muddy River Sports. Our home, our sports.